Do we ever set ourselves up for failure? Like, I've always said, I wish I could just be normal. I wish I could just feel normal. And in doing that, I'm just setting myself up for failure. Because what is normal? What is it that I consider normal? What if we just have to try our best and do our best? What if sometimes we just have to work a little harder to feel a little better? Is normal for me meaning that I have no problems, I have no issues emotionally, physically, mentally? Is that what I'm trying to say? Is that I just want to feel normal? I just don't want to have any problems. I don't want to have to deal with any bad things as I perceive them as bad things, or bodily issues, but having perfection isn't possible. Not for anybody. The thing is that when you start to have what you call an issue that's not normal, it's how you work through it, or how you focus on the better part of it, or how quickly you can help it feel a little bit better. Like those leaves on the tree. So it's fall time, or when it's fall time, all the leaves fall off, right? So then you look around and all the trees are pretty much empty, except for those trees that haven't let go of all their leaves. And sometimes there's trees that still have leaves that haven't even turned colors. They look like fresh leaves on the tree. And then you have the trees that have the leaves that are all dried up and dead, but they're just still stuck on the tree. And that's because they're still holding on to things. And sometimes they need some help to let go of what they have left. They've done a lot of the work and they've gone through a lot of the process and they've dropped a lot of leaves, but they haven't dropped them all. They still have stuff attached to them. So sometimes it takes a source outside of themselves to help them let it go. For example, the wind. And maybe there was a light breeze, but the light breeze wasn't strong enough to remove the leaves that were really stuck to the tree. So then the big wind came. And then what if there's still leaves on the tree that didn't fall off with the big wind because it was just hanging on still, hanging on tight, not wanting to let go? Then the storm had to come. And the storm had to come to try and let it go. And so it's like these things happen to help you let go of everything else that you need to let go of. So sometimes you need that help, you need that push, you need that extra. And so what if we just let go of the thought or the fact that we feel that we should be normal? The expectation. So if I have an expectation to be normal, when I'm not feeling normal, as I call it, then I let it get me down and I let it depress me and really just wear on me. And when I start to feel that way, I have to sit with it and accept it and stop resisting it. That's what I'm resisting is I'm trying to resist it. I have to accept it is what it is, and now I have to deal with it. Now that I've accepted it, deal with it. So what am I going to do to help myself feel better? What do I need to do? What is it calling me to do? And sometimes it may be something as simple as I need to watch something very inspiring, and I listened to my intuition. My intuition said, go rent this movie. It's a feel-good movie. It'll get your mind distracted and focused on something else. Like the one that I was recently called to watch was Interview with God. I was feeling very depressed and kind of down, and I didn't understand what was going on. But I had a lot of resistance. I had a lot of things that I wasn't accepting. I've accepted a lot of things, but I was still resisting, and there was some things going on, and I was having expectations of being perfect, and I am not perfect. So, and after watching that movie, it changed my mood because I really got into it and I was really listening to the words. And then I heard something in the movie that just really struck a chord with me and just made me cry and just made me realize I had to watch that movie to hear that exact line that he just said. And that's the way your angels and your higher power or whoever speaks to you and is able to get you out of those funks and to help you see that it's okay. And finding a way to love and appreciate myself, and just honoring myself. And lots of things happen to people. But it's how we work through it and how we keep going. Like, I haven't been able to do a whole lot of walking like I used to because of the weather and it gets really cold. And so I have all these excuses why I can't do it. Now, some of them are legitimate reasons, and some of them are excuses, trying to avoid. But a lot of it has to do with, like, I can't go on a long walk because I have arthritis in my hips right now. It's really bad. And that's the thing, is that that's not me feeling normal. So how do I deal with that? And how do I compensate for that? How can I still make myself feel better, help me still feel connected with nature and with my angels and my higher power if I can't go on those walks? Can I do it in other ways? Well, yes, I can. I can choose to meditate instead, or I can choose to do a light exercise, whatever it may be. I can choose to go for a short walk versus a long walk. I can choose to, if I can't sit outside, go sit in front of the window and look outside. Or just do something that feels good to me. Like, I can modify what I used to do with what I can do in the moment. And so instead of just giving up, I'm like, well, screw it. I can't go for a walk, so I'm just going to be upset and, and just be lazy and not do anything. So instead of doing that, take that as an opportunity to find other ways. Like, yes, I connect with the angels and I connect with my higher self when I am out in nature and I'm on walks, and I can do that. But if I can't do that, because there's times in all of our lives where we can't do something that we know is good for us because of a limitation in that moment. And it's not always going to be that limitation, but for right now, it's our limitation. So accepting limitation and modifying what we can do to help that. So that's what I'm having to do right now. And letting go of the whole perfection thing. Perfection. Like, how does that help anybody to try and be perfect? And, like, if you can't be perfect, then just don't do it and give up. Like, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that do that. And it's just a lot of self-sabotage for myself and not going to help me mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. And then getting back to what feels good to me and what I love to do, and not having all these outside things distract me, so that way I'm not focused anymore. I've lost a lot of focus. I started a new position at work, and so that's taken away a lot of my attention because I have to focus it there. But I don't have to do that 24/7, you know what I mean? But that's what happens when you change. You tend to put all your focus into that. But I need to get back to reading my cards every day and connecting with the divine energy and feeling that wonderful, loving feeling when I feel like I'm connected to the divine energy. So when I connect with my angels, I feel the overwhelming sense of love and beauty. And so I want to be able to feel that more frequently. And moving beyond my limitations and the fear of not doing things perfectly. And, you know, I was just watching a show on TV and she was doing makeup but she had all these perfectionisms that held her back. Like if she would just let go, she could have been so much better. And she didn't start to let go until the very end. And that's when they noticed it, and that's when she started to blossom. But she didn't win, but the whole point is that, you know, it took her a while to get there and to go through all these things she had to go through in order to finally just let go. Same thing back to the trees. I think just this whole conversation with myself is about being able to let go fully and not try and be so perfect. Like, I want to do these things. I want to open this healing business. I want to do it. But when it comes down to it, I don't do it. Fear of not doing well or not being good enough or being judged or I don't know, just worried that I wouldn't be able to help somebody or they think I suck or, you know, and that's just my ego talking. And if I just tried and I just did it and I just took that leap of faith, you know, learning to surrender things, like when something happened this week and had to do with finances and my health stuff. And so I had to get it worked out. And I normally stress so hard when something like that happens. Like I stress and think about it. And I can't stop thinking about it until I resolve it. And I have to resolve it right now. And this time I'm like, no, I am not doing that again this time. I have too much going on in my life right now. I do not want to add to it. So I said, I give up. I surrender. I accept this was it is what it is, and I trust and have faith in God and the divine power that it will work out. I will have to work for it, but it will work out. And it's not going to help me to stress about it so badly until it gets worked out and resolved. And so I put in the work I needed to do, made the calls that I needed to make, and it literally got resolved in about 2 days. And I didn't fret about it, but I seriously at this time faithfully surrendered it. Gave it up, gave it over, said, I have faith that you will take care of me. And that was amazing. And so that makes me emotional when I mention that right now, because that is the God-loving feeling. And that is how I'm supposed to feel. And that's how I'm supposed to trust. And that's how I'm supposed to have faith. So I just need to do that and just give it over. And just be like, I have faith that you will help me figure out my life purpose and what I need to do to help others and myself live their best life and shine their light as brightly as they can shine it, and know how much they are loved and special, and we're all part of the whole. Like we're all part of, I always consider us part of that tree. You know, we're all part of the tree. We're just on different branches of the tree, different leaves, different areas, but we're all growing and trying to go towards the light. And we're all connected to the source and receiving everything that we need. So I just think that these lessons are super valuable. And let go of being perfect. Let go of worrying about what anybody else thinks. Let go of the fear. Let go of the unknown. Let go of the fear of change. You know, it's not just stuff we have going on in our own lives, but the stuff that we have going on in the lives of our family members or our friends. And I've recently had to deal with situations with family members with cancer, and that has taught me a lot. And it's really had to push me to accept, because I was not doing well. I was in a bad mental place, and I was having a hard time accepting it. And I literally went to the waterfall and did what I normally do, and I was talking, and I had to say that I accept whatever the situation is. And I said it over and over again. And once I was able to accept it, doesn't mean I like it, doesn't mean it sucks. But I accept that it is what it is. And then now, all I can do is pray and be as supportive as I possibly can to them and to myself, and send them as much love and light as I can to them and myself, and just pray for a miracle and trust and believe that everything will be taken care of as it should be. Seeing everybody as happy, whole, and healthy. And that's all I can do. And appreciate all the time that we have, and express my love and gratitude, and have conversations, lots of conversations, and spend lots of time and not hold back. If that goes for anybody in your life. I mean, you should always be yourself, be your true self, and speak your truth, and let people know how you feel, and tell them how much you love and appreciate them, and just have really deep conversations with people that you probably normally wouldn't have on a regular basis. But if you treat every day as if you didn't have tomorrow, how much better would our lives be? How much nicer would we be to each other? Or how much we could change our life if we're in a situation that we don't want to be in. If let's say you weren't going to be here tomorrow, would you stay in that situation or would you leave? So it's just really looking at everything with loving eyes, and having trust and faith that everything that's meant to be and will be is. And when we have our down moments, turn to those things that help us feel better. Even if it's somebody else to help us feel better. We are social people, and we do have community, and we are all connected. So sharing and sending compassion to yourself and the others around you, and not judging. I mean, granted, we're all going to judge. We're all human. But the majority, if you can take it back, to yourself and be like, all right, look, I'm looking at this person in not a good light? How can I see the good in them? What about them is good? And really focusing on the parts that are good. Because there are good parts to everybody. Doesn't mean you have to like everything about them. But if you focus on the parts that are good, and that goes for ourselves too. What are the parts about us that are good? So if I'm having a bout of digestive issues, well, what's going to happen if I'm sitting there focusing on my digestive issues? Well, that's just going to amplify and put it on a pedestal of my problems. And what's going to happen to that when I shine that spotlight on it? Well, it's going to become more obvious, right? So do I want to shine the spotlight on some digestive issues or some hip pain? Or do I want to shine the light on some other part of me that's working properly and that feels good? Whether it be anything, whether it be my hand, my head, my hair. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Just finding something else to focus on within yourself that feels good. And if you can't find something within yourself that feels good, you can always look outside yourself for something that feels good, that makes you feel good. So if I want to look at this beautiful little lit up tree on my stand right here, that makes me feel good. Or look at my crystals, or look at my cards, or journal, or listen to a book or read a book, or it's a distraction, but it's a good distraction to take me away from the negative and to put me more into a positive. And when I do that, I notice that the other stuff isn't so loud and doesn't feel so bad. So like I may be having some issues right now, let's say, for example, but let's just say I put a heating pad on my stomach for digestive issues, but then I'm not focused on what's going on in my belly. I'm focused on something else, to help me feel better. So like, even though I can't get up and go do something right now, I can do this for me. And this is what makes me feel good. So that's super important. And then it doesn't feel so horrible anymore. And sometimes, like if I'm walking down the hall and I've got a lot of pain in my hip because it's just, not feeling so great and it's really cold and more aggravated. So then I say, okay, God, I give this to you because this hurts, or whoever. Give it to the ocean, give it to, I don't know, give it to the sky, give it to the moon, give it to something other than yourself. And then focus on what feels good. Like breathing. My breathing feels good right now. I'm just going to focus on my breath. Or I can move past this pain. I don't deserve this. I can let this go. I can feel good in this moment. I choose to feel good in this moment. And it's not ignoring or pushing away because you don't want to not acknowledge something. I acknowledged it. I accepted it. What is what it is. But I know that I can rise above it. So what do I do to rise above it? And that actually has helped. And then I've noticed that, like, it's like your mind does stuff. It's like my mind, like, turned the dial down on the pain, if that makes sense. So it's like turning the dial down on that and turning the volume up on something else. So if you could focus on that, that might help you get through some issues. Because, we're all going to have issues at one point or another. And that would be even with something outside of ourselves. So if we can turn the volume down, the stuff that we don't want blaring so loudly, accept it, of course, because it is what it is, But then turn up the volume on something else to highlight that makes you feel good, makes you feel good inside, makes you want to dance, makes you want to move, or just makes you feel at peace. And then you keep doing that. And like, for example, like I wasn't feeling so great this week, and then I got over it when I was, found other things to raise my vibration out of that funk. But like even at work, so like I was walking down the hall, and then I heard somebody on the phone with somebody, like a client, and they were just being so sweet. And they're like, oh, take care. And they said their name. And it just sounded so personable and so beautiful that like I was just walking by and I thought, how beautiful is that? Like I'm walking and working in a place and I just heard somebody say something beautiful to somebody else. And so that made me feel good inside. That person doesn't even know that happened. And everybody does it at work, but it just felt great. And I just think it's good to notice the things around us that we don't normally pay attention to. Because if we're focused on something else that doesn't feel so good, like let's say you didn't like your job. Lots of people don't want to be at work. I don't always want to be at work, but sometimes it is what we have to do. So in the process, what can we do to make ourselves feel a little bit better? Focus on the things that are good. And I just so happened to be walking by and I thought that's a really beautiful thing to have that community and have to hear, humans being nice to other humans. And so that made me feel connected to divine, loving, peaceful energy. And that made me feel good in that moment on my way back to my desk. So if we can find the beauty in things and ways to turn down the dial of the stuff that's doesn't need to be so loud and the other stuff up, then the other stuff kind of works itself out. It really does. And listening to that internal guidance. I really started getting in tune with my internal guidance of what my body needs for mental or physical or whatever. And sometimes that is to rest and recoup and relax. And sometimes it's like, you should probably get up and do some stretches. It doesn't have to be a lot. But just find a way to connect and see the beauty. And just realize that there's so many beautiful things out there and so many beautiful things that people do for one another. And I'm grateful and appreciative to be able to see that and recognize that. Because before I probably wouldn't have. I wouldn't have felt the same way. It didn't have as much. It had a really strong effect on me. Because I'm like, wow, this probably happens every day that, all these beautiful things. And I'm just so busy and not focused on that I miss them. Like we miss those beautiful moments. Because we're so busy in our minds elsewhere. You'd be surprised how many times your mind's like fixated on something you don't want, and we're attracting what we don't want. And so I do that still constantly. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all I'm thinking about is my problems, And people say, you're so strong and you do so much. And I was like, am I? I don't know. I mean, I gotta give myself more credit, I guess. Just take it day by day, moment by moment, and just try and find the beauty in things. And I just need to keep focused on that. Find the love. That's what we're here to do. Find the love and shine that light. So I think I was actually taking a bath and I was thinking about this healing business thing, and I have somebody cheerleading me on saying 2023, you need to do something. Just start with one little thing. Okay. So I'm probably going to set up another account, maybe on Facebook. And I think I'm going to call it Laugh Healing with the Angels. Because laugh, or LAAF. So it's love always and forever. Because that's what it's all about. Is about love and feeling better and bringing in that light. And laughter, so it's funny that it spells out as the sound of laugh, because Laughter is always something that makes you feel better and raises your vibration. It's just a beautiful thing. And of course with the angels, because the angels are all about love and light. So I'm going to do that. I don't know what it's going to entail yet, but I'm just going to start there and see where that takes me. Maybe do some Reiki energy work, or some crystals, or some sound healing, or some coaching, or my cards, my oracle cards. So, anyway, if you're interested, let me know. To a new year that's coming up, and letting go of all the rest of the leaves that I have decided not to let go of. I want them to all fall off so I can start over and start anew when springtime comes. And just keep growing to the light. And I definitely want to stay connected with myself, divine energy, being my truth, speaking my truth, and connecting with all of you. So I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.